All right, so we give praise, esteem, and honor to the Most High Yahuwah by way of His only begotten Son, Yahushua HaMashiach. We pick this up at John chapter 5, verse 39, and we'll search the scriptures for them. You think you have eternal life, and they are they which testify of me. And you would not come to me that you might have life. I receive not honor from men, but I know you, that you have not the love of Allah in you. I come in my Abba's name, and you receive me not. If another shall come in his own name, him you will receive. How can you believe which receive honor one of another and seek not the honor that comes from Allah only? Do not think that I will accuse you to Allah. There's one that accused you, even Moses, in whom you trust. If I had you believed Moses, you would have believed me, for he wrote of me. But if you believe not his writings, how shall you believe my words? Let's pick this up in Proverbs, the 14th chapter and the 9th verse. And it says, fools make a mock at sin, but among the righteous there is favor. So there's a testimony of the Lord before. We dealt with it in the past. I think we grossed over this briefly, but I had a dialogue with somebody about something earlier today. I'm going to share some of that, which is going to cause me to accelerate going up to Ezekiel 36, which is more apropos because we've already done Ezekiel 34. We've done Ezekiel 35. We've done Ezekiel 37. We've done Ezekiel 38, and we've done Ezekiel 40. So it would be apropos and just due to go ahead and do 36. So that way, when we come back to 39, the totality of the play has been brought into its completion, at least of all the things that we are discussing. So Proverbs 14:9 says, fools make a mock at sin. Let's take a look at something in Job chapter 30 real quick, tie that in on the first half and move on swiftly from that point and get to what we're here for. Job chapter 30, verse 1. And it says, but now they that are younger than I have had me in derision, whose fathers I would have disdained to have set with the dogs of my flock. Now let's pay attention to this. Let's look at some of these words. You can gain some understanding of what is actually being conveyed. When it says younger, you know that Yahushua was before all things. So you know he came unto his own and his own received him not. So you know what that would be. That word there is seir, which means insignificant, younger or youngest or little. It's also the word yom, which is up under that. And that's the day and time of the year. So it says that they have me in derision. That word is sakak, and that is to laugh, and that is to play, and that is to mock. So those that were younger or insignificant than him were mocking him, whose fathers he disdained. That word is ma'as, which is to reject, to despise, and to refuse, to even set with the dogs of his flock. Now, we talked about a week or so ago about how the men are of the pasture are his flock, and that they would be the sheep of his flock if they would hear his voice. So therefore, these people who he would disdain to set with the dogs of his flock would take us here to John chapter 10, verse 25. And from John chapter 10, verse 25, we'll take a look at Luke chapter 23. Make it quick, go on our way. Matter of fact, hold on. My apologies. Let's keep on going in Job 30. Let me knock it all out at one time. We're in Job 30 and 2. Say, yea. Whereto might the strength of their hands profit me, and whom old age was perished. Now let's pause. Let's take a look at that. And this was still dealing with the second half of the verse, that whether among the righteous there is favor. Now we're looking at profit me in my old age. That word is kalak, full strength, firm, rugged strength, or vigor. Just for informational purposes, kaf, lamad, and kai. So, whereto might strength of their hands profit me in my full strength of vigor. Look what he said. For want and famine, they were solitary, fleeing into the wilderness in former time, desolate and waste, who cut up mallows by the bushes and juniper roots for their meat. They were driven forth from among men. They cried after them as after a thief, to dwell in the cliffs of the valleys, in the caves of the earth, and in the rocks. Among the bushes they brayed, under the nettles they were gathered together. They were the sons of fools, yea, sons of base men. They were viler than the earth. Well, let's look at that. Base men. viler than the earth. A base man, so we're here, that's just Shem. So that's just name. So they were the sons of the name. And they were viler than the earth. The word viler there is the scourge, or smite. That word is nakah. So when it's telling you that they were the sons of men of a particular name, and they smited in the earth. And he said, now I am their song, yea, I am their byword. They abhor me, they flee far from me, and spare not to spit in my face. Now, this is something that we've dealt with before. This is pretty clear, but let's look at how they're the sons of base men, or the sons of a particular name, who seek to scourge and smite, who these men he wouldn't even set among the dogs of his flock. So let's not go to John 10. Let's go to Luke 11. No, Matthew 23 is cool. I like the verbiage better than Matthew 23. Now that upon it, I think upon it. Goes into a little greater detail of what I would like to convey at this time. Matthew chapter 23, verse 29. Woe unto you, scribes, Pharisees, hypocrites, because you build the tombs of the prophets and garnish the sepulchres of the righteous, and say, if we had been in the days of our fathers, we would have not been partakers with them in the blood of the prophets. Wherefore you be witnesses unto yourselves that you are the sons of them which killed the prophets. So you're the sons of the name of the people who scourge and smite. He say, fill you up then the measure of your fathers, you serpents, you generation of vipers. How can you escape the damnation of hell? Wherefore, behold, I send unto you prophets and wise men and scribes, and some of them you shall kill and crucify, and some of them you shall scourge in your synagogues and persecute them from city to city, that upon you may come all the righteous blood shed upon the earth, the blood from the blood of righteous Abel unto the blood of Zacharias, son of Barachas, whom you slew between the temple and the altar. Now, why is all this coming? Because what they did to Yahushua equated to every righteous man who was slayed by the wicked that came before him, that was bearing a witness unto him. So not only did they bear the blood of the Lord, but they bear the blood of all these other men as well. Now, of course, y'all should recall and know, but I shall bring it back to your remembrance, that we know that what? Whosoever smite a man by man, whoever sheds man blood, by man, his blood must be shed. Well, we've looked at those things with Yahushua treading that wine press over the last week or two. And we went over that when you commit iniquity and sin, it is akin to you being out there saying, crucify him. So therefore, the blood of all those righteous people who he mentioned would fall upon you, because you would be the same as a murderer. You have to consider that. You have to weigh that. Because like I said, I had a nice little dialogue earlier today. Certain things were mentioned. I said, you know what? We'll speak on those things. So this is not a shot to disparage anybody. Just something that I was inspired. We'll go through it, see what it says. Let's go look at that John 10 to 25. And then from that, Luke 23. Because he said he wouldn't set them with the dog of his flock. John 10 to 22. All they want to do is mock and laugh and scorn it. He said he wouldn't even spare to spit in my face. He said, that wouldn't stop him. Just like they said, you had everybody. I told y'all, man, it's going to be World War III. That's whole stuff. I'm telling you something right now. You have to watch men. This is whether you're dealing with, shalom, man. This is whether you're dealing with the word or not. I'm talking to the brothers. It don't matter if you're dealing with the word or not. You have to watch a man that when something happens, that they react emotionally without seeing empirical data, facts, or having any knowledge of the situation at hand, and make knee-jerk and snap reactions. That's a man who's a two-dimensional thinker. You cannot follow behind a man it's just like this here. A man who's a coward, if you follow him, then you're going to be privy to all his fears. You know what I'm saying? You're going to be privy to all of that, because that's what he's going to lead by. That's what he's going to speak by. He's going to speak by his fear. You have to know that and understand that. And the reason why all this is happening, because everybody they want the Lord to come back. I've said it before. I'll say it again. Truth be told, you want this man to take as long as possible. So as many souls that can come into repentance can come and be sealed by the Ruach HaKodesh. You don't want to be hastening this man's return. Could you be told, mass majority of the people that they ain't ready? It's not going to go down like they think it's going to go down. This man ain't coming with you with no hugs and kisses because you've been screaming you an Israelite and you don't care some laws. When this man say, well, I find faith when I come upon the earth. You know what I'm saying? Your faith is going to dictate your obedience. You can keep commandments and don't believe them. Went through that. Because eventually, when the right set of situation and circumstances appear, you will reject this man. You will reject this man and say you don't know him. Nevertheless, John 10 and 22. And when it's at Jerusalem at the Feast of Dedication, and it was winter, Yahushua walked in the temple in Solomon's porch. Then it came to Yahudim round about him and said unto him, how long do you make us to doubt? If you be the anointed one, tell us plainly. Yahushua answered them, and I told you, and you believe not. The works that I do in my Abba's name, they bear witness of me. But you believe not, because you are not of my sheep, as I've told you. Well, why are they not of his sheep? Well, let's go back to Matthew chapter 3 before we did Luke 23. A statement like this here, right, of what John the Baptist had said to these men. And this had hit my head when I was going through Joel 30. When I was reading it, I wanted to get that Matthew 30. Let me recall what line it was that sparked that in my mind. That they were driven, driven in the clefts of the earth. Well, the bit that they were sons of fools and base men, that on top of it. And they didn't abhor to spit in his face. Let's look at it. Because we're not going to go, because it's more in Job 30, but we're not dealing with that tonight. 3 and 7. Matthew 3 and 7. He said, but when he saw many of the Pharisees and Sadducees come to his immersion, he said, I want you to keep this in mind about John the Baptist's immersion. Many of the Pharisees and Sadducees came to his immersion. He said unto them, O generation of vipers, who have warned you to flee from the wrath to come? Bring forth fruits meet for repentance. And think not to say within yourselves, we have Abraham to our father. For I say unto you that Elohim is able to raise up sons of these stones to raise up sons unto Abraham. So why is he telling you that? Don't you lean on Abraham and think you straight. You got to lean on you. Who ought to be straight? Don't you lean on him, because Abraham ain't going to save you. This is not going to save you. You know what I'm saying? This is not going to save you. Why is this not going to save you? Because you need a covenant greater than the covenant he made with Abraham. But that's another conversation for another day. And now also the axe is laid unto the root of the trees. Therefore every tree which bring not forth good fruit is hewn down and cast into the fire. I indeed immerse you with water unto repentance. Keep that in mind. But he that come after me is mightier than I, whose shoes I am not worthy to bear. He shall immerse you with the Ruach HaKodesh and with fire. Keep all that in mind. Luke 23. Luke 23, 33. And when they would come to the place which is called Calvary, there they crucified him, and the malefactors, one on the right hand and the other on the left. Then said Yahushua, Abba, forgive them, for they know not what they do. And they parted his raiment and cast lots. The people stood beholding, the rulers also with them, deriding him, saying, he saved others, let him save himself, if he be a Mashal, the chosen of Elohim. And the soldiers also mocked him, coming to him, offering him vinegar, and saying, if you be the Malach of the Yahudim, save yourself. And the superscription also was written over them in the letters of the Greek, Latin, and Hebrew. This is the Malach of the Yahudim. So these are these base men who are not even of his, who he wouldn't even set with the dogs of his flock. Wouldn't even set with the dogs of his flock. And you can check that in Matthew 25, because when I was hungry, you wouldn't feed me. And when I was naked, you wouldn't clothe me. And when I was a stranger, you wouldn't take me in. And when I was in prison, you wouldn't visit me. And when I was sick, you didn't minister unto me. They say, well, when did we didn't do these things? He said, when you didn't do it to the least of me, these, my brethren, you didn't do it to me. That's what I said. And these are men who he said to sit on the right hand, on the left hand with the goats, and enter into the everlasting fire, prepared for the devil and his angels. Because these are these base men, or men that are named who scourge and smite. These are the men who will persecute you from city to city and put you out of their synagogues and slay you and think they do Elohim service. See, these niggas so dumb. The junk be making me hot, man. Real talk. You're so dumb when it comes to the script because you think it's about the nations persecuting you because of who you are and not understanding that the enemies of a man's of his own house, those of a man's household are his enemies. No one is persecuting you for standing up, preaching the gospel of Yahushua HaMashiach in this present time. It's not happening. So you're looking at all of these things and thinking this meaning the end. This man said you'll be hated by all nations for his name's sake. Ain't none of these niggas preaching this man's name. Ain't none of these dudes standing up for this man. All you talking about is you. Israel, Israel, Israel. So you know it ain't time. It ain't the time. This is not what this man said to you. Look at what he said. Only deal with what he said. When you deal with what he said, you'll see what the play is. And you're going to know. Y'all willing men to stand up for Yahushua soon more and more as the day draws nearer. And you'll see the arduous nature of men's faces. I didn't read the verse, but you could get Matthew 24. Not 24, excuse me. 27 to see when they were spitting in his face. Because we read about it, they said they didn't cease from spitting in his face. Let you get you that right there before we slide from out of that and see how all that came to be unto the favor of the living Elohim. I think that was Matthew 26 and not 27. Matthew 26 it is. You pick it up at 63. You have to look at that and understand that. Nobody persecuting you because of the bloodline. These people don't care. They really don't care. You can say, well, why are they naming us as terrorist groups? That's just to make other people feel comfortable. Them people don't care because they don't see what you're teaching as a threat to their structure. They don't see that as a threat. What made John the Baptist a threat to Herod? It wasn't because he was an Israelite. He told him it wasn't just and right for you to marry your brother's wife. He rebuked and corrected this man according to the words of Elohim. That's what made him a problem. What made Yahushua a problem to them? Because he was telling them that their deeds were evil. You ain't sitting around telling people their deeds because you worrying about America. Just preach against sin, period. And see how many people care to hear what you're talking about. Preach faith in Elohim and care to see what these people care what you're talking about. You will anger them. You will upset them. You will upset them. But all people want to talk about is punks. You know them people punks? We'll talk about all the adulterers and fornicators and liars and idolaters. Just don't talk about idolatry when Christmas rolls around. Because people worship an idol God every day of the week. Even people who say they are brews. These niggas scared to call out brews who practice witchcraft and all type of foolery. You ain't going to say nothing about it. Nigga, that junk ain't cool. You doing wickedness, you ought to burn in hell if you don't repent. Period, point blank. That's what the words say. That's what Yahuwah say. Yahuwah say you ought to turn from those things and put them down so iniquity won't be your ruin, for why would you die? But since you don't like to retain Elohim in your knowledge and you are pleased of yourself more than Elohim, you don't care. And you turn your head when somebody look like you or when somebody you feel like they cool or you like them. Don't enable people in stupidity. Let them know I ain't with it. And if it upsets you that I ain't with it, then that's fine. We don't have to associate. You know what I'm saying? We don't have to do that. But I'm not condoning that. You're not helping nobody condoning them in the ways of self-destruction. That's not love. You don't love somebody when you do that. You know they destroying themselves and you want to give them a pass. It's different when they don't know no better. A lot of people know better. A lot of people know better and do turn their head. That junk ain't cool. We got to wake our people up. How you waking somebody up and you in sin and you dead? What you waking them up to? That man said you're looking for one proselyte to make him 2-4 more the child of hell than you is. Come on, man. That junk ain't right. Matthew chapter 26, verse 63. But Yahushua held a shalom, and the high priest answered and said unto him, I adjure you by the living Elohim that you tell us whether you be the Mashal, the son of Elohim. Yahushua said unto him, you have said, nevertheless, I say unto you, hereafter you shall see the Son of Man sitting on the right hand of power coming in the clouds of Shamahim. Then the high priest rent his clothes, saying, he has spoken blasphemy. What further need have we of witnesses? Behold, now you have heard his blasphemy. What think you? They answered and said, he's guilty of death. Then did they spit in his face and buffeted him, and others smote him with the palms of their hand. These are vile men. That's all they want to do is scourge and smite. That's what he said. He said, is this the fast that I've chosen? But you want to smite with the fist of wickedness. That's what most of all these brutes want to do. Just smite with the fist of wickedness. That's all they want to do. That's all they want to do. And want to do other things to turn from the fact that they dead inside. If you ain't got no ruach in you, you have no life in you. You're dead inside. How can you say you have life when the sustainer and giver of life does not dwell within you? Nevertheless, let's look at the favor of the righteous. Mark chapter 16. From Mark 16, Ezekiel 36. We see how fools make a mock at sin. Why do they say, how is Yahushua sin? Because you know from 2 Corinthians chapter 5 that he became sin who knew no sin. So therefore they made a mock at him because he was symbolic of their transgression and their rebellion and their offense and their condemnation. And he was taking that on and they mocked him for it. And they mocked him for it. That's why Paul said we fools for Hamashiach's sake. You know what I'm saying? Because they see us as fools. Peter, you follow fairy tales and you all that type of stuff. You gotta see that, letting people just run their mouth, man. Most people just talking, they don't know what they're talking about. Sometimes you just gotta let people run their mouth, man. What was I finna head to? Thank God, just that fast. It'll come to me in a minute. I just forgot where I was going just that quick. Oh, Mark 16. Praise the Lord. Mark 16 and 9. Now, when Yahushua was risen early the first day of the week, he appeared first to Mary Magdalene, out of whom he cast 7 devils. She had went and told them that had been with him as they mourned and wept. And they, when they had heard that he was alive and had been seen of her, believed not. After that, he appeared in another form unto 2 of them as they walked and went into the country. And when they went and told it unto the residue, neither believed they them, Afterward, he appeared unto the 11 as they sat at meat, and he upbraided them with their unbelief and hardness of heart, because they believed not them which had seen him after he was risen. He said unto them, go you into all the world and preach the gospel to every creature. He that believe and is immersed shall be saved. He that believe not shall be damned. Now notice that he said, he that believes and is immersed or baptized will be saved. Now, let's take a look at Ezekiel 36 and let's begin our journey. I also hope that y'all can recall what we looked at in Matthew 3 about John's immersion. Well, let's take a look at Ezekiel 30, chapter 36, verse 1. Listen what he said. Also, son of man, prophecy unto the mountains of Yasharal, and say. Also, I didn't hit that. That Job 30 about the men dwell in the mountains. That's Isaiah chapter 1. If I'm not mistaken, no. Isaiah chapter 2, along with in Revelation 5 about them hiding in the mountains, hiding from the Lord. That's what that is. That's why those vile men, those who scourge and smite, they want to hide when Yahuwah come. That's what they want to do. They want to hide. Now, don't hide now, nigga. Nevertheless, also, you son of man, prophecy unto the mountains of Yasharal, and say, you mountains of Yasharal, hear the word of Yahuwah. Thus saith Yahuwah Elohim, because the enemy has said against you, aha, even the ancient high places are ours in possession. We talked about that when we were looking at the beast last week. That's what he wanted. He wanted to speak against, that's what that son of Edom wanted to do. He wanted to speak against the mountains and say, they mine now, I can take them. Revelation 11, right? Therefore prophecy and say, thus saith Yahuwah Elohim, because they have made you desolate and swallowed you up on every side, that you might be a possession unto the residue of the heathen, and you are taken up in the lip of talkers, and are the infamy of the people. Well, let's look at what he said when he said you're taken up in the lips of talkers and that you're the infamy of the people. What can this mean? What is he trying to convey? Look at the beauty of Yahuwah. He said he hear them running their mouth. You're taken up in the lip of talkers. So, of course, you have the word lips is Safa, and that's someone who's speaking a language, speech, sure, and then Lashon is tongue. So the speech of the tongue, which we already know that those people, specifically the beast, was round there blaspheming. running his mouth. Remember in chapter 35, he said, I heard them. The word for infamy is deba, and that's an evil report, whispering, defamation, or defaming. So again, we see a correlation what we read in Ezekiel 35 about him, Edom, multiplying his words against Yahuwah, which is what Daniel 11 and what Paul said in 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, and what's written in Revelation 13 that is stated that the beast would do. Also Daniel chapter 7, multiplying words and boasting against the authority, power, tabernacle, and might of the living Elohim. Let's continue. Therefore, you mountains of Yasharal, hear the word of Yahuwah Elohim. Thus saith Yahuwah Elohim to the mountains, to the hills, to the rivers, to the valleys, to the desolate ways, and to the cities that are forsaken, which became a prey and a derision to the residue of the heathen that are round about. Therefore, thus saith Yahuwah Elohim, surely in the fire of my jealousy have I spoken against the residue of the heathen and against all Idumea, which is referring to Edom yet again, which have appointed my land into their possession with the joy of all their heart, with despiteful minds to cast it out for prey. Look at what he said. They done took it in possession. So we can see that again correlating to what we read in Ezekiel 35, who going to be ruling in the land, and that would be a son of Edom. During the times of the end anyway. Well, let's get this here with this despiteful. That word for despiteful is shiat, and that's despise or contempt. So they despise and they have contempt for Yahuwah. Let's take a look at something. Deuteronomy chapter 7, just so you can see the beauty of the Lord. Praise the Lord. Let Yahuwah be praised and exalted. Just let that be known. Just let that be known. Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 9. Deuteronomy 7 and 9. Know therefore that Yahuwah your Elohim, he is Elohim, the faithful Elohim, which keep covenant and mercy with them that love him, and keep his commandments to 1,000 generations, and repay him that hate him to their face, to destroy them. He will not be slack to him that hate him. He will repay him to his face. I guess you know he came and seen his face to face. You know that, right? That's what he said in Isaiah 63, what we read last week, ain't it? That's what we read in Ezekiel 35 last week, ain't it? That's what we read in the book of Obadiah, ain't it? That's what you read in Revelation 19, ain't it? He going to repay him straight to his face that despise him. Come on back. That's what we didn't read it in Daniel 11. That's another thing I did talk about it 2 weeks ago. We just didn't read it. Book tell you Daniel 8, excuse me, not Daniel 11, but Daniel 8, that this beast, that this man, Shalom, man, this man will be destroyed without hand. I'm telling you now. We talked about it last week when we were looking at, not last week, 2 weeks ago, when we read Deuteronomy 20 and Deuteronomy 24 about a man taking a new wife and him not going out to war. Yahushua gonna come through and slay the beast. You're not gonna have to lift a finger. And we should know this from Torah, because you didn't lift a finger to take down Pharaoh. You ain't lift a finger. Not a finger. Not nary sword, not nary arrow. You didn't have to lift up nothing. Yahuwah took care of all of that. Now, what did we read last week? Again, we read in Ezekiel 35. We read in Daniel chapter 11. We read in Daniel chapter 7. We read in the book of Obadiah. We read in Revelation 13 that this son of Edom will be the man of sin sent to deceive the whole world. And nobody is going to lay a hand on this man but the Lord. Why? Because he despises and he has contempt for the tabernacle of Elohim. That's not your fight, because he don't got no pressure with you. You just representative of who he got pressure with. He want Yahuwah. He don't want you. Since he can't get to Yahuwah, he'll fight you as a coward. That's what cowards do. I can't get to the person who I really want to fight, so I take down the people who I'm stronger than. So you got to understand that. But then you have to understand that you have a strength that no man can touch if you believe in Yahuwah. If you trust and have hope in Yahuwah, what can a man do? At the end of the day, what could he really do? He can't do nothing. So you don't need to have no fear, no consternation, or no concern about the wicked. Let them shed your blood and rejoice that you were counted worthy to suffer for the name of the living Elohim, and that your name is etched in heaven. Their reward shall be paid back to them for touching the sons of the righteous and spilling blood. To him. You don't think your blood gonna call out to him? What makes Abel better than you? Absolutely nothing. Don't let people tell you, oh, that's the people in the book. Y'all gonna treat them different than you. He ain't never told you that. He never told you that. The same mercy and goodness that's extended to the righteous men of old will be extended to you now. If you have the same level of faith, mind, and heart that they possess, Yahuwah will do the same thing for you. Don't let none of these brews out here tell you that lie. Y'all still protect people to this day. Y'all still take care of people to this day. Y'all still provide for people to this day. Don't let nobody tell you no different. Let's continue. Verse 6, Ezekiel 36. Prophecy therefore concerning the land of Yasharal. Say unto the mountains, to the hills, to the rivers, to the valleys. Thus saith Yahuwah, behold, I've spoken in my jealousy and in my fury, because you've borne the shame of the heathen. Therefore, thus saith Yahuwah, I've lifted up my hand. Surely the heathen that are round about you, they shall bear their shame. That take you back to what we read in Deuteronomy 30. With that circumcision and the curses that's on you, he gonna put on your enemy. Now remember, right? Yahuwah willing. We done touched a few here and there. But before we get back to Ezekiel chapter 41, if Yahuwah permits and is merciful to allow us to do so, we will read every single solitary location from the law, from the prophets to the writings that deal with the salvation of Yasharal and the promise to come, because we are going to craft the entire picture of what this man promised New Jerusalem is going to be, so you can see what your hope is, so that you continually do your work and labor in the Lord and know that your work is not in vain, that Yahuwah is not unfaithful nor unmerciful. He will repay your labor of love. Don't let nobody tell you no different. Yahuwah done spoken and promised it, and it shall be. Verse 8, Ezekiel 36. But you, O mountains of Yasharal, listen what he said, you shall shoot forth your branches and yield fruit to my people of Yasharal, for they are at hand to come. Listen to what he said. He said the mountains, they're going to shoot their branches. I guess you know. Revelation chapter 2. I guess you know what we're going to read. If you don't know, you will know shortly. See, we could go get in Ezekiel 47. We don't go early because we done read it. Some stuff we're going to have to be redundant. But you need to remember that. And you remember what he said in Isaiah 64. The eye of man have not seen, nor the ear heard, nor as it came into the hearts of man what Yahuwah has prepared for those that wait for him. We had no idea what this man got prepared for those that will endure to the end. All I can tell you is hold fast. Just hold fast. Revelation 2 and 7, not 2 and 9. My apologies. Just hold fast. Just hold fast. Don't lose your. Remember we were talking about that when we were dealing with Nebuchadnezzar, and that was about a good year and some change ago. Don't let nobody take your crown. Don't let nobody take your crown. Not even your. Ain't nothing in this world worth, but all that stuff irrelevant. Just take up your stake. Crucify your flesh. Again, we're gonna talk. I mentioned that because that was a good conversation, man. You know what I mean? And the young lady was respectful. She had her perspective. And she was saying, hey, were you telling me these things? Can you show me where that was at? And when she seen that, she know what she was like to see. Okay, cool. I can rock with that. Because we need to understand that what it is to be born again and the things that come along with that. You know, I tell y'all some of y'all this stuff all the time. But it never hurts to understand and to know we're supposed to be dead to sin and dead to the world, living the Elohim. Ain't no going back. Ain't no going back. Ain't no going back. You going back, that means you ain't crucified yourself. You decided not to drink the cup. But hold on, I'm getting ahead of myself. He said, he that have an ear, let him hear what the Ruach say unto the houses. To him that overcome will I give to eat of the tree of life, which is in the midst of the paradise of Elohim. I'm feeling good. Get Isaiah 51 anyway. We doing it early. It don't make no difference. If I have to be redundant with certain places, then so be it. Then so be it. I don't care. Ain't gonna hurt nobody. Isaiah 51 and 1. Ain't gonna hurt nobody. From Isaiah 51 and 1, Revelation 22 and 1. Ain't gonna hurt nobody. This is the difference between the old covenant and the new covenant. This man ain't promised you none of this here. That man ain't promised you no tree of life in that old covenant. He promised it to Adam. Adam chose to eat the law instead of eat faith. That was his choice. That's why he died. He could have lived if he chose faith. You got that same choice before you right now. You got the same choice before you right now. He said, you overcome. That means you're going to eat from the tree of life because you chose the tree of life before you ever saw it. Nevertheless, Isaiah 51 and 1. Hearken to me. Remember, that's Shema, so that's believing. You that follow after righteousness, you that seek Yahuwah, look unto the rock which you are hewn, and to the hole of the pit where you are digged. Well, come on and look at Yahushua that was cut, and look at the grave that he came from. Look unto Abraham your father, and Sarah that bare you. For I called him alone and blessed him and increased him. For Yahuwah shall comfort Zion. He will comfort all her waste places. He will make her wilderness like Eden and her desert like the garden of Yahuwah. Joy and gladness shall be found therein, thanksgiving and the voice of melody. This man done sat back and told you. Look what he told you he was going to do. We didn't talk about this before. That man said he going to make Jerusalem like the garden of Eden. So what you seen in the beginning, he going to do it on the back end. Except ain't gonna be no tree of knowledge of good and evil there. Ain't gonna be no Torah there. Ain't gonna be no need for no Torah. Why ain't gonna be no need for no Torah? Pause. 2 Timothy. 2 Timothy chapter 1. I'll show you why there ain't gonna be no need for no Torah there. Very simple thing to understand. Why it won't be no need for no Torah. That's not to say that the Torah is wrong. That's not to say that the Torah is evil. Not at all. This is to gain understanding. And it's not 2 Timothy, my correction. It's 1 Timothy chapter 1, verse 3. We know ain't nothing wrong with the instructions, but we know that the instructions are the knowledge of sin. Therefore, they can't give life because that wasn't their intent. He said, as I besought you to abide still at Ephesians, this is 1 Timothy chapter 1, verse 3. When I went unto Macedonia, that you might charge some that they teach no other doctrine, neither give heed to fables, endless genealogies, which minister questions. Shalom, man. For sure, for sure. I know you out there in the street, man, making moves, doing what you got to do. Rather than godly edifying, which is in faith, so do. Look at what he told you to do. He say, don't listen to fables. See, I'm going to tell you something right here, right? If we say we go by the book, you shouldn't even pay attention to any dude that say he know what tribe he from. Because the minute he tell you that, where your genealogy at? Because that's the custom of the book. That's why he telling you don't give no heed to the endless genealogies. Because all that's going to do is serve more questions. So when you pay attention to when you talk to people about the word, or when you see people talk about the word, if the things that they discuss lead to more questions and don't lead to being edified of who Elohim really is, then you know that Yahuwah is not dealing with this individual, or this individual is mentally, emotionally, and spiritually unstable. Because ain't nobody finna sit down with something as precious as the everlasting word of the living Elohim and cause more questions to come where no one is instructed and informed on what godliness is. That's a waste of time. We don't have time to waste. Man, look here, man. I seen a dude from around my way, man, in the grocery store the other day. I hadn't seen him in a minute. He was like, man, you remember little dog from Gregory Cole? I'm like, yeah, man, I already know that was little Johnny, man. He lost his life on the Feast of Saturnalia. Known this little dude for years, man. Out of here. And we think we got around time around here to play. Shalom, Brother Francis. We ain't got time. Don't pay him no mind. He hard-headed. He don't even be getting, he'll be screaming like a little girl. One of these days, I'm going to elbow him right on the top of his forehead, but it ain't going to do him no good. We say that the things that pertain to edifying people in faith, that's what we ought to be doing. You know what I'm saying? My homeboy hit me up the other day, man. He was talking about something. I said, bro, I don't care nothing about that stuff, bro. Don't call me with any of that stuff. Don't call me about dudes arguing about was Mary a virgin. I don't care. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm talking about? Don't hit my phone asking me about Esau because I don't care. You know what I'm saying? I don't care. I don't care about none of that. I don't participate in foolishness. And I will set a conversation down that I don't care to participate in very, very quickly. Because I will not entertain you long. Some people take it as rude. Some people take it as harsh. Take it for what you will. Because I don't have time to waste to talk about you with things of no consequence. You know what I'm saying? So I was listening to my man talk about something the other day, man, on one of the videos he be making, man. He said something real, right? It made me sit back and pause. Because, you know, I done had people say, man, you need to lighten up, have some fun. This, that, there, and the third. And, you know, I crack a joke and all that there. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? I ain't got no problem with that. But he was using the point, he was talking about the movie Tombstone with Wyatt Earp and another movie with Samuel L. Jackson, where he played a police officer. Okay, I preach the word, which means, for lack of a better term to use what he used, that's a lawman. When you deal with law, structure, order, that's seriousness attached to that. See, I learned at an early age, man, life ain't all fun and games, bro. You know what I'm saying? You can't go through life playing around. That's a surefire way not to accomplish anything. That don't mean that we can't have no fun and crack no joke. Anybody know I crack a joke in a heartbeat. We can rank, crack, joke, all that in the third. At the same time, it's not no game out here, though. You know what I'm saying? I'm not acting no fool thinking life is a joke and everything's for play. You know what I'm saying? I'm a grown man. You know what I'm saying? I'm a grown man. Grown men shouldn't be around here playing. You know, it's a time and place for everything. And it's good to have a good laugh from time to time. You know what I'm saying? Don't get it twisted. You know what I'm talking about? Because y'all already know that. I'll crack a joke in a heartbeat. And I got a different sense of humor. Some people don't like it. Nevertheless, you still got to be serious as a man. How is anybody going to take you serious if you don't take yourself serious? See, that's our people problem. You want people to take you serious and you don't even take yourself serious. So why should they? That's no different than a lot of these women out here. Ain't no man finna take you serious and you don't take yourself serious. Why he gonna take you serious? You know what I'm saying? You can't expect that type of reciprocity. You can't expect that. I'll deal with him in a moment. Verse 5. Now the end of the commandment is love out of a pure heart and of good conscience of faith unfeigned, from which some having swerved have turned aside unto vain jangling. Desire to be teachers of Torah, understanding neither what they say nor well they affirm. And we see plenty of that. A lot of dudes desiring to teach this word don't know what they talking about. He said, but we know that Torah is good if a man use it lawfully. Amen. But look at what he said. Knowing this, that the Torah is not made for a righteous man, but for the lawless and disobedient, for the ungodly, for sinners, for unkadash, profane, murderers of fathers, murderers of mothers, manslayers, whoremongers, for them that defile themselves with mankind, aka a homosexual, for men stealers, for liars, for perjured persons, and if there be any other thing that is contrary to sound doctrine. That's why it ain't going to be no tree of knowledge of good and evil in the kingdom. Because what does it need for the law? Remember, what is the new covenant? The Ruach HaKadosh in you, the Torah in your heart and your inward part. One nobody need to tell you to know Yahuwah, for you will all know Yahuwah. So you ain't nobody who going to dwell in this man's kingdom who going to be lawless. You not finna be in this man's kingdom committing no sin? Are you serious? What does he need to have a law with you for if it's already in you? What do he need it there for? Ain't nobody in here sinning. We read that in Zephaniah chapter 3. Ain't nobody going to be committing no iniquity in that place. You got to be a fool to believe that. You got to be a fool to think the living Elohim going to be dwelling amongst you and dudes going to be around here committing adultery, beating their meat, telling lies, worshiping idol gods. Come on, man. We got to be wiser than that. We got to be wiser than that. Got to be. I got more confidence in us than that. Revelation 22:1. Because if we not, we in trouble. If we ain't wiser than that, we in trouble. We in trouble. This man gonna come through and we gonna be terrified because our heart's gonna condemn us. We supposed to be bold at the day of this man's coming. He said that he will be the hope and strength of his people. That's what the prophet Joel said. That when this man come back and roar his voice from Zion, he gonna be the hope and strength of his people. Our heart should not be condemning us before this man's sight because we know we haven't held fast to that man's covenant. Shalom, man. We got to come better than that. We better than this. 22:1 book of Revelation. And he showed me a pure river water of life, clear as crystal, proceeding out the throne of Elohim and of the Lamb. And in the midst of the street on either side of the river was there the tree of life, which bare 12 manner of fruits and yielded her fruit every month. And the leaves were for the healing of the nations. Let's take us back to Ezekiel 36. That's what he said what happened, right? He said them trees and branches would bring forth and yield her fruit. Huh? Praise Yahuwah. That tree of life right there for you. He telling you what it is. Verse 9, Ezekiel 36. He telling you what it is. Look at what he say. For behold, I am for you, and I will turn unto you, and you shall be tilled and sown. I will multiply men upon you, all the house of Yasharal, even all of it. The city shall be inhabited, the waste shall be builded. I will multiply upon you man and beast. They shall increase and bring fruit, and I will settle you after your old estates, and will do better unto you than at your beginnings, and you shall know that I am Yahuwah. So that's the point of when you sit back and you look at it, right? Versus trying to hold on to the old covenant versus coming to the new. He said he'll put you back at your first estates, but it'll be better for you than when it started. See, Paul 3. I might go a little over the time. I got 14 minutes for the standard time, but I'm gonna go over because I already went to the gym, so it don't make no difference. I got finished working early enough to hit this workout. Because, I still got to get up and go to work in the morning. And I would hate to have to be coming back in the gym 10:30, 11 o'clock. That's why I made it by business, you who are permitted for me to be able to do that. So that means I can go over the time. 2 Corinthians 3 and 7. Because I got a little bit more. I ain't even got to do, I got more. He said, but if the ministration of death written and engraved in stones was glorious, so that the sons of Yasharal could not steadfastly behold the face of Moses. This is 2 Corinthians chapter 3, verse 7. For the esteem of his countenance, which esteem was to be done away, how shall not the ministration of the Ruach be rather glorious? For if the ministration of condemnation be glory, much more do the ministration of righteousness exceed in glory. For even that which was made glorious had no glory in this respect, by the reason of the glory that excelled. For if that which is done away was glorious, much more that which remained is glorious. That's what we got to understand. That old covenant is gone. That old covenant, for lack of a better, for the perfect example, to be told, taking us back to the garden, we understand and know that the tree of knowledge of good and evil was simply the law, because the law is simply the knowledge of good and evil. It simply is. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. That's what it is. And Paul let that be known in Romans chapter 7, and there's numerous other places that confirm that. The tree of life is everlasting life, or the gospel of Yahushua. So that's what he gave you with that first covenant. You got the law and the land and length of days. That's all you got. That's all you got. So on the new one, he gave you his Ruach HaKodesh, or everlasting life, the land, but making that land the land that comes from heaven. That's what he gave. That's greater. And we can see that when you go read in Exodus, when Moses went back up on the mount and got the second table of stones, because his face shone afterwards, and it was showing you that something was going to be greater coming later. Something greater was coming later. Contrary to popular belief, the law cannot save you. Because if the law could save you, then what did Yahushua had to shed his blood for? Just because you say that, see, because people have been conditioned to think, well, that's what the Christian church say, this, that, there, and the third. No. That does not mean the law is not to be obeyed, because that's foolishness. Every man has a structure and order set up in his household, and that's what the law is for. But everlasting life cannot be contrived or received from it, because if it was, then the Lord would have not had to give up his life. Your Elohim would have not had to manifest himself in the flesh and be put to death in the flesh and be justified in the Ruach for you in order for you to live. That would have not needed to occur. That would have not needed to occur if the law alone could save you from death. That could not reverse that curse that was laid upon your head. It can't do it. See, we so focused on the curse that's in Deuteronomy 28 that you ain't focused on the curse that's in Genesis chapter 3. Because that curse in Deuteronomy 28 is nothing, truth be told. That curse in Genesis chapter 3 is the problem. That's the curse you need to be worried about. You worried about a curse of exile. You ain't seen how many times this man done delivered you from the hand of your enemies? But you needed him to deliver you from death. Why we don't ever talk about that curse? Because we don't care about that curse. Because you don't believe that you're going to live forever. You don't believe you're going to resurrect from the dead. That's why you don't want to talk about it. You want to talk about stores and cursed in the city and going to your enemies. Boy, you're going to the grave, son. You're going to the grave. And then you're going to have to stand before your Elohim with them books open. Well, you better get hold of everlasting life. You better consider. The Lord didn't come, see, that's what most brews get it twisted. The Lord didn't come to reverse Deuteronomy 28 when it say he redeemed us from the curse of the law. Only an unlearned man would teach you that. Only an unlearned man will read Galatians 3 and 13 and tell you that's the curse in Deuteronomy 28. Only an unlearned man would tell you that. The Lord didn't come to redeem you from that. That's why dudes be talking again. He ain't saved us from the curses because we still in captivity. You just unlearned and a fool. It's okay. It's okay. Somebody gonna love you and give you a hug and show you better. If the Lord permit, you just don't know no better. That man came to deliver you from the curse of death. That's how you know everybody can be saved, because everybody's tied to Adam. I don't care what nationality of people they are. Everybody go back to Adam. Everybody died. And dudes can't even click that in their brain. Everybody died. I don't care if you quote unquote so-called Asian. I don't care if you so-called Arab. I don't care if you so-called white. I don't care if you so-called black. I don't care if you so-called African. Everybody go dust to dust, ashes to ashes, and the Ruach, the Elohim gate go back to him. I don't care who you is. Everybody got that curse on their head. That's the curse you need gone. And you can't get that curse gone unless you're born again. Praise the Lord. You can't get that curse off your head unless you're born again. Give thanks to the Lord. Come on back to Ezekiel 36. Verse 12. Ezekiel 36 and 12. Yea, I will cause men to walk upon you, even my people Yasharal. They shall possess you. You shall be their inheritance, and you shall know henceforth bereave them of men. Thus saith Yahuwah Elohim, because they say unto you, your land devour up men and has bereaved nations. Bereave the nations. Oh, you got to read 2 Kings 17. You know, he sent them lies, ate them people up because they ain't know the man of the law. We got ate up because we ain't keep it. Well, Jerusalem will eat you up and spit you out. Yahuwah will make sure of it. He said, neither will I cause men to hear in you the shame of the heathen anymore. Neither shall you bear the reproach of the people anymore. Neither shall you cause the nations to fall anymore, saith Yahuwah. Now remember, he's talking strictly to the land right now. This is who he's talking to. He telling Jerusalem, the mother of us all. Boy, you shout out. The mother of us all. You know what I'm talking about? He telling her, don't worry, baby. I'm gonna get these boys up off of you. I'll make you right, baby. I'm gonna bring your husband home. Because they wild. He said, I'm gonna get you right. He talking to the land. I just want y'all to know that. Now let's sit here, because now he's finna talk to us. Verse 17, Ezekiel 36. I'm gonna try to get the whole chapter, because I ain't got to hit everything and go through everything like this here. I'm gonna hit the whole chapter. That's why I said I'm gonna go over the time. Verse 17, Ezekiel 36. All this is still seeing among the righteous there's favor. Son of man, when the house of Yasharal dwelt in their own land, they defiled it by their own way and by their doings. Their way was before me as the uncleanliness of a removed woman. Huh? That man said, boy, y'all was so wicked, y'all like a woman on a period. That's what you did in this house. He said, I got to put you out. Like a woman on a period. He said, boy, that's bad, boy. He said, wherefore I poured my fury upon them for the blood that they had shed upon the land and for their idols wherewith they had polluted it. So look at why he said he had to get rid of you. You're shedding innocent blood. Remember what the Torah tell you, the land defiled when you shed innocent blood. That's what the law tell you. Then he say you worshiping idols in it. I keep telling y'all this and I tell you again. Like, let me be honest with you, man. You don't have a history as a people of being a righteous and upright nation in continuous fashion. You've been evil since the day you were born. You've been disobedient from the day you were born. You've been unbelieving from the day you were born. Just pockets of righteous men. This is not a righteous people totality. This people been bucking from the day they were born. And we have to accept that. And start romanticizing and because we acting like a woman now. We're creating delusions in our head to see reality as we want to see it versus what it is. We can no longer do that. Be effective spiritually. It is what it is. You can mention the righteous men, but don't sit back and say this was a righteous people. That's a lie. Because you broke every law the man had. That man don't sleep with beasts and you slept with them. He said don't worship other gods and you worship them. He said don't murder and you murder. He said don't commit adultery and you did it. He said don't be a punk and you punking. That's why when Bill like said, I had to sit back and look at it, man. You know, you say black people don't be with homosexuality. That's a lie. We promote punks on every cut and corner. We cool with niggas being adulterers and we cool with people being fornicators. You're cool with it. You ain't got no problem with it. And have the nerve and audacity to talk about another race of people. Nigga, look at you. You ain't got no problem with your daughter being a whore. You don't care if your son is a punk. That don't even bother you. You got Charlemagne the God, faggot behind around here sending niggas models of his butt. And dudes think that junk cool. And people think that junk cool. That's where we at, man. That's where we at. All we do is complain about what somebody ain't doing for you. You need to go complain to your God and ask him to get that wicked heart up out your chest. Verse 19. I scattered them among the heathen. They were dispersed through the countries according to the way and according to their doings. According to their way, according to their doings, I judged them. And when they entered into the heathen, whither they went, they profaned my Kadash's name. When they said to them, these are the people of Yahuwah that are gone out of the land. What did I tell you? Remember what I tell you? The name of Yahuwah blasphemed amongst the Gentiles because of you. That man named defiled because of you. That's why you got to consider your behavior when you name it. That's what Paul say. You know, the Lord knows that are his. And everyone who named the name of a Mashal, let him depart from iniquity. You know what I'm saying? We around here profaning this man's name with this foolishness. All we want to look at is One West and what they doing. But as a whole, we got this man named bad in the street because of our behavior, because how we conduct ourselves. That junk ain't cool, man. He said, but I had pity for my Kadash name, which the house of Yasharal profaned among the heathen, whither they went. Therefore say unto the house of Yasharal, thus saith Yahuwah Elohim, I do this not for your sake, O house of Yasharal, but for my, he got water there, but for my Kadash namesake, which they have profaned among the heathen where you went. I just want y'all to keep that in mind. He didn't do this for our sake. And you heard what he said, he did it for his name. Remember what he told you in Exodus chapter 6? That he might make his power be known in Pharaoh. This man got to do all this stuff, get his name back clean. Remember what Moses said in Exodus? Not Exodus, but also in Numbers 14 to be specific. He said, man, if you kill all these people, man, the Egyptians and all the other people going to say, well, you wasn't going to be able to bring them into the land. And guess what? If he would have did it, you would have caused that man's name to get spoke down on because of your unbelief and disobedience. And we don't never consider that. That's no different than a woman. You representative of your husband. The way you carry yourself and conduct yourself is how that's going to reflect on your husband. That's why people tell young men, at least if they got somebody wise, be careful what type of woman you choose, because she's representative of you. The way she behaves reflects on you. The way you behave reflects on Yahuwah. So people look at our husband based off of us, and we don't care if people talk bad about our husband based off our behavior. And we want to scream to be the victim. They're doing this because we know we're the Israelites. Cut that cornball junk out, my nigga. Nigga, that junk lame, nigga. You know what I'm saying? Stop doing that junk. That junk ain't cool, bro. That junk ain't cool. That junk's not cool. We need to take consideration. That's my husband. I will not dishonor his name. I ain't gonna have nobody talking down on my husband behind what I done. I ain't gonna let it happen. That's when you know you love your husband. When you that you won't even allow your thought process and conduct for allow anybody to disrespect him. Nobody gonna talk bad. My husband about, oh, that's why you're married to a whore. That's why you're married to this here. That's why we don't even look at that. We married to this man. You know what I'm saying? We married to this man. And we cool with people talking down on this man based off what we do. Don't give nobody no room to talk bad about your husband. That's spiritually and natural. That's for you women too. Don't give nobody no room to talk bad about your man based off what you doing. If you love your husband, then you'll love to make sure that his name stay clean in the street. Ain't nobody gonna dare speak no word against him based off nothing you did. That's how much you ought to love your husband. That's how much you ought to respect yourself. Verse 23, Ezekiel 36. I will sanctify my great name, which profaned among the heathen, which you profaned in the midst of them. And the heathen shall know that I am Yahuwah, saith Yahuwah Elohim, when I shall be sanctified in you before their eyes. For I will take you from among the heathen and gather you out of all the countries and bring you to your own land. Y'all know what that is. That's Matthew 24. Y'all know what that is. Then will I sprinkle clean water upon you, and you shall be clean from all your filthiness, and from all your idols will I cleanse you. And a new heart also will I give you, and a new ruach will I put within you, and I will take away the stony heart out of your flesh, and I will give you a heart of flesh. And I will put my ruach within you, and shall cause you to walk in my statutes, and you shall keep my judgment. Remember with the stuff that I pointed out about he that believed, he that is baptized and believed to be saved, and the stuff we read about John. You know what I say, right? My man, he was like, how do you rededicate your temple? I was like, being born again. Brother Otis was like, how many times? The question is, being born again, how many times does that need to be done? One time. One time. A young lady had made a statement about, your flesh, you could be born again multiple times. I'm like, absolutely not. The book don't teach that. The book don't teach that. Then my other brother was like, there was examples of re-emergence. So we're going to look at the examples of re-emergence and see what that was discussing. Look at being baptized and being born again. See the example of it in the law. See an example of that once you are immersed, you're only going to be immersed one time. And if you willfully and knowingly, now keep immersing, right? And this is what I tell anybody when we baptize them. Because I can't tell you that I'm not going to baptize you. If I ask you to believe in Yahushua and you say yes, I can't tell you you're lying. Do you know what I'm saying? I can't tell you you're lying. But it behooves you to understand why you're doing it. And prayerfully, you would have heard the gospel and testimony of Yahushua before you did it. You know what I'm saying? Because then you would have a fullness of understanding of what it is that you're actually make the resolution that you're making in your heart. Yes, sir, that will be one of them. In your heart of what you're doing and why you're doing it. You understand? But come over here to John chapter 3 real quick. From John chapter 3, I want you to go to Yahushua, son of Nun, chapter 24 and verse 14. And like I say, this just is based off of, having a conversation. In my opinion, was good conversation on all sides. Some went more in depthly, you know what I'm saying? And based off of that, I say, you know what? We'll go over some of this tonight. John chapter 3, verse 1. There was a man of the Pharisees named Nicodemus, a ruler of the Yahudim. The same came to Yahushua by night and said unto him, Rabbi, we know that you are a teacher come from Elohim. No man could do these miracles that you do except Elohim be with him. Yahushua answered and said unto him, Truly, truly, I say unto you, except a man be born again, cannot see the kingdom of Elohim. Nicodemus said unto him, How can a man be born when he is old? How can he enter the second time into his mother's womb? Now, y'all need to remember what we read in Isaiah 51. Remember the rock which you were hewn and the hole or the pit from which you were digged, and Sarah which bore you. Yahushua answered, Truly, truly, I say unto you, except a man be born of the water and of the Ruach, he cannot enter into the kingdom of Elohim. Now, where can we see that in the law of being born of the water and the Ruach to enter into the kingdom or the reign of Elohim? Exodus chapter 14. Let's look at the beginning of the first statement where you see immersion for the purpose of being born again. So we got to get Exodus 14 before we read Yahushua 24. My apologies. Make sure I'm in the right spot. There we go. 14 and 18. Exodus 14 and 18. And the Egyptians shall know that I am Yahuwah when I've gotten me honor upon Pharaoh, upon his chariots, and upon his horsemen. The Malachim of Elohim, which went before the camp of Yasharal, removed and went behind them. The pillar of the cloud went from before their face and stood behind them. It came between the camp of the Egyptians and the camp of Yasharal, and it was a cloud and darkness to them. But it gave light by night to these, so that one came not near the other all night. Moses stretched out his hand over the sea, Yahuwah caused the sea to go back by a strong east wind all that night, and made the sea and dry land, and the waters divided. And the sons of Yasharal went into the midst of the sea upon the dry ground, and the waters were a wall unto them on their right hand and on their left. And the Egyptians pursued and went in after them to the midst of the sea, and even all of Pharaoh's horses, his chariots, and his horsemen. And it came to pass that in the morning, when you watched, Yahuwah looked on the host of the Egyptians through the pillar of the fire and of the cloud, and troubled the host of the Egyptians, took off their chariot wheels, then drave them heavily, so that the Egyptians said, Let us flee from the face of Yasharal, for Yahuwah fight for them against the Egyptians. And of course, we know they drowned in the Red Sea. But notice that when you pass through that Red Sea, this is what caused you to enter into the wilderness, and you would have entered into the land. But we know why we didn't enter into the land immediately, because the people did not believe. And Yahuwah made a statement in in Numbers chapter 14. He said, None of these men which have sinned against me will enter into my land. He said he swore in his wrath they wouldn't make it in. He said everybody 20 and over ain't getting in. So these were men who were immersed and had knowledge of the truth and sinned willfully. They did not enter in. Why is that important? Yahushua 24 and 14. Now, we've always mentioned this part in Yahushua 24 and 14, but sometimes people overlook it to get to what's in verse 15, where he say, but me and my house will serve Yahuwah. Let's look at what it says. Now, therefore, fear Yahuwah and serve him in sincerity and truth, and put away the gods which your father served on the other side of the flood and in Egypt, and serve Yahuwah. Now, remember what we read in Ezekiel 36? He said he'll sprinkle clean water on you, put his laws in you, give you a new heart, a new spirit, be born again if you would. I want y'all to look at these words in this book in regards to other side. Of course, other side would be either. Opposite side, beyond the cross. So remember, right, he said on the other side of the flood. So what was on the opposite side of the flood? Idolatry, sin, iniquity, worldliness, ungodliness. He said leave that over there and come on this side. The characters for that are Ayin, Bat, and Raj. So what is that? Experience and know that Yahusha is the son of Elohim. Well, how can you experience and know that Yahusha is the son of Elohim? He said you got to take up your stake and follow him. That's what he told you in Luke chapter 8. Excuse me, Luke chapter 9. That's what he told you. Luke chapter 13. Well, it's 8 and 24. I'm messing it all up. Excuse me. He told you take up your stake and follow him. That's the only way that you're going to know and experience that Yahusha is the son of Elohim. You're going to have to hear the gospel and believe it. If you don't hear the gospel and believe it, how can you know and experience that Yahusha is the son of Elohim? How? But let's look at another statement. Romans chapter 6, verse 1. Romans chapter 6, verse 1. Let's look at what it says. Because if you're going to know and experience that Yahusha is the son of Elohim, then you're going to have to know and experience what he did to become that. Romans 6 and 1. Let's look at what it says. What shall we say then? Shall we continue in sin that grace may abound? Elohim forbid. How shall we that are dead to sin live any longer therein? So if you've taken up your stake and you followed him, you dead to sin. It's simple as that. 1 Peter chapter 4, verse 1. Look at what it say, right? Y'all know what it says, because we look at it a lot. 1 Peter 4 and 1. Look at what it says. For as much then as a Mashal have suffered for us in the flesh, arm yourselves likewise with the same mind. For he that has suffered in the flesh hath ceased from sin, that he should no longer live the rest of his time in the flesh to the lust of men, but to the will of Elohim. See, we can't be making excuses for being ungodly and sinning, because that's what Hebrews like to do. We can't talk about Christians do this and do that, and we do the same thing. That's being a hypocrite. Don't talk about them people if you doing the same thing. Because you feel like, because you know you an Israelite and you know Yahuwah's name, that give you a pass for being a hypocrite? No, it don't give you no pass. That don't give you you don't get no hall pass for that. You can't be telling people it's okay. It's not okay. And it's okay to say, nah, bro, that's not okay, bro. We can't do that no more. If we say we dying for the Lord, then be dead then and live for him. Stop living for yourself and for your flesh. Put it down. Put it down. You say you love him? Well, Yahushua loved his father enough to lay his life down for him. You mean to tell me you can't lay yours down? You mean to tell me you can't lay yours down? I've said it in the past and I'll say it again. If you can't lay down your life against sin right now, you won't lay your life down for this word. Because you can't even die to doing what you want to do. So you know you're not going to die physically in the defense of the gospel in his name. How you expect me to believe you'll lay your life down physically, but you won't lay it down spiritually? How you expect me to believe that? Please sell it to me. Make me believe that. How you going to make me believe that? It ain't hard to lay your life down. You got to want to do it. Your trust, your hope, and your love for Yahuwah got to be so strong that whatever it is that you got going on, it means nothing for you to relinquish it. Nothing. You know what I'm saying? That man say, that man say, if you shall know the truth and the truth shall set you free. He say, if the Son shall set you free, you shall be free indeed. So you mean to tell me Yahushua can't set you free from the flesh if you believe on his name? You a lying bastard. You're not going to tell me that and make me believe it. That man say he'll free you from the bondage of the flesh. That's what he said. That's what he meant. If he ain't mean it, he wouldn't have said it. That's you, nigga. And you want to put that off on him. And that's the stuff I don't like. Your people do wicked stuff. You're sideways and you're hypocritical and you're unbelieving. And you want to blame Yahuwah for it. You ain't gonna blame that man in my presence, because I'm gonna tell you lie to your face. That's you, cuz. That's you. You won't get right because you don't want to get right. You don't want to stop because you don't want to stop. It's called temperance, man. It's self-control. It's discipline. We say men supposed to be disciplined and have control over themselves. How can you rule a house and you can't rule yourself? Come on, man. That junk don't make no sense. Romans chapter 6. But you want to rule everything. How you going to be in power when you can't govern yourself? You're going to be just as wicked as the people you say you despise. Romans chapter 6, verse 4. Therefore, we are buried with him by immersion into death, that like as a Mashal raised us from the dead by the glory of Abba, even so we shall also walk as in newness of life. You see the beauty of that? Praise the Lord. So when we getting baptized, we saying, I'm dying to sin. I'm living to Yahuwah now. I'm living for Yahuwah now. I'm not living for myself anymore. Paul say we judge that if one died, we're all dead. And that from henceforth we ought to live for him who died and raised from the dead for us. Come on, man. That's simple as that. And if your flesh is still alive, that means you didn't mortify your members. When Yahushua say, I will let this cup pass from me, but not my will, but your will be done. That means if your flesh ain't dead, you ain't drink that cup. That's what that means. You ain't drink that cup. You let that cup pass. Because if you drunk that cup, you would have died. That's what happened when the Lord drank it, did it not? You would have died. Niggas ain't drinking the cup, man. Let's keep it real. If we're going to be honest, let's be honest. We don't want to be honest because we want to give passes talking about this awakening. Man, that's cap for garbage and foolishness, stupidity, hypocrisy, wickedness. That's what it is. You're using the cloak of awakening to cover up for sin, to cover up for unbelief. And it's despicable. That junk ain't right. It's about Yahuwah. It ain't about you. And it never was about you. It was always about Yahuwah. And we need to understand that and know that and ride for Yahuwah. Screw how many people somebody waking up to an Israelite. How many they waking up from sin and death? How many walking in newness of life? How many receiving the Ruach HaKodesh? How many people being delivered from the bondage of sin? Who cares about who know they're an Israelite? That junk ain't profiting nobody nothing. It ain't doing nothing for nobody. And you can see it based off people's conduct and behavior. Nevertheless, he said, for if we were planted together in the likeness of his death, we shall also be in the likeness of his resurrection. Knowing this, that our old man is crucified with him, that the body of sin might be destroyed, that henceforth we should not serve sin. For he that is dead is free from sin. Now, if we be dead with a Mashiach, we believe that we shall also live with him, knowing that a Mashiach being raised from the dead died no more, death have no more dominion over him. For in that he died unto sin once. I'll read that again. For in that he died unto sin once, but in that he lived under Elohim. Likewise, reckon you also yourselves to be dead indeed unto sin, but alive unto Elohim through Yahushua HaMashiach our Lord. Let not sin therefore reign in your mortal body, that you should obey it in the lust thereof. It's just that simple. You die to sin one time. Ain't nobody need to be getting baptized 5-6 times. Just go ahead and go in the world, do what you want to do. Just stop playing. You don't need to be baptized no 5-6 times. The only reason I would see anybody getting rebaptized is if they didn't feel comfortable if they were baptized in the name of Jesus. And they said, I want to be baptized in the name of Yahushua. I'm not criticizing or ridiculing anyone who's been baptized in the name of Jesus. I would not baptize anyone in the name of Jesus. I'm not condemning anyone who has. That's not none of my concern. Won't have no prayer. You won't hear nothing from me on that. That's on the individual. If they comfortable with it, I'm comfortable with it. I'm just speaking for me. If I'm going to immerse somebody, I'm not doing that. But that's me. I ain't going to be like, oh, your baptism ain't real, bro. You were baptized in the name of Jesus. I ain't got no time for that. I ain't got no time for that. Did you understand what you were being immersed for? If you understood that, I'm good, bro. I'm going to keep it real with you. You know what I'm saying? That's straining at a gnat. That's wasting time on foolishness. And I ain't got time for that. You know what I'm saying? I ain't got time for that. So I want you to look at the other part, which is the word for flood in Yahushua son of Nun, chapter 24, verse 14. That word is Nahar. Of course, it means flood, stream, river. That's Nun, Hay, and Raj. So it is behold that Yahushua is eternal life, which of course that's what we see here in Romans 6. That because you have said that I will be baptized in the name of Yahushua, because you believed that he died and rose from the dead. That's why you get baptized. You believe that Yahushua died as a man and rose the son of Elohim. So therefore, because you believe that, then you seek to be born again. So just like 1 John 3 and 9 say, he that is born of Elohim do not commit sin. He cannot sin because his seed remain in him because he's born of Elohim. What is the seed? The seed is the word, which we've just read in Ezekiel 36. That word is in you, which we already read earlier about why there's the tree of life and no tree of knowledge of good and evil, because that the law is for the lawless and not the righteous. You wouldn't have need for that. The word is in you, so of course you wouldn't offend and transgress because you were born of the word. That's what it is to be born again. You're born of the word. You've put off the sinful nature of the flesh to serve Elohim in the heart while in this sinful flesh. So you allow the word to bring your flesh into subjection to the obedience of the word. You yield to the word and not to the flesh. And you can only do that by dying to transgressing. That's why you get immersed. You shouldn't be having to get immersed 3-4 times. That is ridiculous. You understand? That's ridiculous. That should not occur. Now, what is the other thing that I'm going to hit? Well, let's look at the points my brother mentioned, man. First one was Acts chapter 19. What he mentioned about reimmersion. So we have to look at the context of what that is and see were these people reimmersed because of sin or were they reimmersed for another reason? Acts 19 and 1. And after that, Acts chapter 8. This is why I mentioned about what was in Matthew chapter 3 will come into play. It said it came to, this is Acts 19 and 1. It came to pass that while Apollos was at Corinth, Paul passed through the upper coast, came to Ephesus, finding certain disciples. He said unto them, have you received the Ruach HaKodesh since you believed? They said unto him, we have not so much as heard whether there be any Ruach HaKodesh. He said unto them, well, what then were immersed? They said, unto John's baptism. Then said Paul, John truly baptized with the baptism of repentance, saying unto the people that should believe on him, which should come after him, that is on Hamashiach Yahushua. That's what John said in Matthew chapter 3. So this reimmersion of these people in Acts 19 was not for disobedience. It's because they were immersed unto the immersion of John. So they were not immersed in the name of Yahushua. So therefore, they did not receive the Ruach HaKodesh. This is another reason why you must be born again and immersed, whether it's Yahushua, I don't care. I don't have the time for that. This is how you receive the Ruach. You can't get it without it. Look what said happened. And when they heard this, they were immersed in the name of Yahushua right then and there on the spot. Because look at what he asked him. Did you receive the Ruach since you believed? None of these men are accused of committing any manner of sin. And when Paul laid his hands on them, the Ruach HaKodesh came on them, and they spake with tongues and prophesied, and all the men were about 12. So that's what occurred when we see these men being re-immersed. They were immersed into the immersion of John. They were not immersed from hearing the truth and sinning. Because what did Yahushua, son of Nun, say? All the idols your father served on the other side of the flood. That is symbolic of baptism. Remember, he called it the house of bondage. He said, he that commits sin is the servant of sin, and the son abide not in the house. Because when you commit sin, you're in bondage to sin. But when you're immersed into the death of Yahushua, that's the same as all that what you did on the other side of the flood in Egypt. Leave that over there. That's what you say when you get baptized. Everything I did while I was in bondage to sin, I'm leaving that on the other side of the flood. I'm leaving that in Egypt. That's why we read that about them being immersed, going through the Red Sea. And this is why he slayed everybody in the wilderness, save two that were over the age of 20. Because they sinned willfully after receiving the knowledge of the truth. And there remained no more sacrifice for sins, but a fearful look of the fiery indignation, which each had dropped in Hebrew 10 and 26. And if you go look in Torah itself, there are no sacrifices for willful sin. There aren't any. That's a Torah statement that the writer of that epistle in Hebrews wrote. There is no sacrifice for willful sin. Yahuwah don't operate that way. Acts chapter 8. Acts 8. Well, talk about verse 9. And why am I mentioning this here? Because I want you to take your walk in newness of life. Because I wager a mass majority of you have been immersed. And if not, if you will permit, I'll do it. If you believe, I ain't got no problem doing it. We do. Only thing is we do it on the Sabbath just because it's easier logistically, and so everybody is there. You don't. I don't know. Some people be like, if somebody baptize you, you got to be a member of their congregation. You can hit Brother Otis up. He tell you, we don't do that. You ain't got to get on no stream. You ain't got to come. You ain't got to do nothing. You say you want to be baptized, I ain't got no problem with it. You ain't got no obligations or no debt to me. Your obligations and debt is to you. Who are they to me? But there was a certain man, this is Acts 8:9, which before time in the same city used sorcery, bewitched the people of Samaria, giving out that he was some great one, to whom they all gave heed from the least to the greatest, saying this man is the great power of Elohim, and to him they had regard, because of the long time he bewitched them with sorceries. But when they believed Philip preaching the things concerning the kingdom of Elohim and the name of Yahushua HaMashiach, they were immersed, both men and women. Then Simon himself believed, and when he was immersed, he continued with Philip and wondered, behold, the miracles. Now, when the apostles which were at Jerusalem heard that Samaria had received the word of Elohim, they sent unto them Peter and John, who, when they were come down, prayed for them that they might receive the Ruach HaKodesh. For as yet he had fallen upon none of them, only they were immersed in the name of the Lord Yahushua. And they laid their hands on them, and they received the Ruach HaKodesh. And when Simon saw, and then it goes into all that because Simon tried to pay to get a Ruach. These people, notice what it said, only they had received it because they were immersed in the name of the Lord Yahushua. Not that anyone had been immersed and committed sin. The only way that you could get it is you couldn't be baptized into the baptism of John and get it. You had to be baptized in the name of the Lord. That's why I say, behold and know that Yahushua is the Son of the highest. That's what immersion shows you, that he's the Son of the highest. See, let's look at Acts, continue Acts chapter 8 with the Ethiopian eunuch. We pick it up at verse 29. Well, 27. And he arose, and this is Acts 8. He arose, went, behold, a man of Ethiopian, a eunuch of great authority under Candace, queen of the Ethiopians, who had charge of all her treasure, and had come to Jerusalem for the worship. And was returning, sitting in his chariot, read Isaiah the prophet. Then the Ruach said unto Philip, go there and join yourself to this chariot. Philip ran thither to him and heard him read the prophet Isaiah and said, you understand what you read? He said, how can I, except some man should guide me? I don't know why these dudes think they can learn the word on their own. Now, how can this Hamite, this Ethiopian, this son of Cush, have more understanding than a Hebrew in 2020, quote unquote? He had enough, this stranger had enough sense to know you can't understand the word unless there's a man to guide you. But we just feel like we can just sit at home and do it. You who ain't never operated like that, but we don't went over that, so I'm not going to spend too much time on that. And he said, how can I, except some man should guide me? And he desired that Philip would come and sit with him. The place of the scripture what he read was this. He was led to a sheep of the slaughter, and like a lamb dumb before his shearer, so he opened he not his mouth. In his humiliation, his judgment was taken away. Who shall declare his generation? For his life is taken away from the earth. The eunuch answered Philip and said, I pray you, of whom speak the prophet this, of himself or some other man? Then Philip opened his mouth and began at that same scripture and preached unto him Yahushua. Now, you brothers know I've been telling you this for years. Stop going out there talking to people about the Israelite. Stop going out there and talking to people about the law and go preach the Lord. That's what the apostle did. The apostle sat down and said, you need to understand these laws, brother. He didn't do that. He said, let me tell you about Yahushua. Let me tell you about him. That's who you need to know about. That's what he did. That's what he did. And guess what? The Ruach told him to join himself to that chariot for that cause. Praise the Lord. Continue. And as they went on their way, they came unto a certain water, and the eunuch said, see, here is water. What do hinder me to be baptized? Clearly that means that Philip told this man about baptism. Philip said, if you believe with all your heart, you may. And he answered and said, I believe that Yahushua HaMashiach is the son of Elohim. How else he could believe that unless Philip preached it to him? It don't go through everything that Philip sat down and talked to that man about, or how long he talked with him for. But one thing for certain and two things for sure, esteemed the Elohim, when he got finished, that eunuch believed on Yahushua. He said, I believe. That's what happened. Guess what? Because Yahushua believed that his father would raise him from the dead. That's why he said, my flesh rests in hope, that he won't suffer his Kadash one to see corruption. Huh? He said, I know I'm going to get up out of the grave. When you say I'm going to get baptized in the name of the Lord, that's what it is. We done made baptism just like the Christians done made the baptism a worthless ritual. Because the people do not understand what they're doing and why they're doing it. And the significance of what they're doing and why they're doing it. And the proclamation that you're saying the same thing that your forefathers said in the wilderness. Everything in this covenant we will do. You entered in the covenant with Elohim. You got to remember, you say, look unto the Sarah who bare you, into the pit that you would dig. You looking into the grave of Yahushua, how they came into the grave and they say, who you coming here for? That's what the angel say, who you looking for? Yahushua, he say, yo, Yahushua ain't here, he's risen. He ain't here. What you coming around here for? Like the book tell you for. What you going low looking for, walking amongst the dead, looking for the living? This man gone. This man gone. This man is alive. That's what we looking at when we go in that water and come up out of it. I went in dead. I came out alive. Alive to Elohim. Praise Yahuwah. And he commanded the chariot to stand still, and they went down both into the water, both Philip and the eunuch, and he baptized them. And they will come up out of the water, and the Ruach of the Yahuwah called away Philip, and the eunuch saw him no more, and he went on his way rejoicing. Of course he would rejoice. This man just been saved. This man just been saved. He just been sealed by the Ruach. He just got the good news. Ask yourself, how many people really be happy when they sit down and find out they're an Israelite? How many people really be happy when you see the law? The law don't make you happy. That's condemnation. You see you ought to be dead. Every time we read in the text when that law was read to them people and they was in sin, them people wept. I ought to be dead. But when you bring that gospel brings joy to the man's heart. Make him rejoice. But it's 9 o'clock, man. You know, I used to do this a lot back in the days. I ain't gonna keep you that long. We already long. Back in the day, we you know what I mean? That's another conversation. Hallelujah for Yahushua. The word. I appreciate about time, man. I bless everyone out the house of Yahuwah in the name of Yahushua. We got a little bit more in Ezekiel 36. Yahuwah willing. We'll finish that on the Shabbat. Still try to weave a little bit in here and there. Well, with that there, because you also got to remember in Ephesians 5, it tell you that everybody that's a Mashal have crucified themselves, crucified their affections and lust. You have to mortify your members. That's it. You just have to mortify your members. Shalom, man. There's absolutely nothing in this world that you cannot do. You can stop sinning. You can stop doing anything. It takes the wherewithal, the desire, the discipline, and the self-control to cease. And I'm speaking to the men first and foremost. There is nothing restrained from you in your Elohim. Just on the natural level, there's nothing restrained from you. Praise Yahuwah. There's nothing restrained from you. You men have the power, the ability, the wherewithal, and the strength to do anything you desire to do. Even more so in the Lord. Even more so in the Lord. Even more so in the Lord. Ain't nothing restrained from you. Don't let nobody have you sitting around playing the victim. You know what I'm saying? Don't let nobody feel like you lesser than. Those are people that you need to eliminate from your life. You're not a victim. The situations and circumstances you find yourself in are self-inflicted. As a man, you have to acknowledge that, and you have to do the next things necessary to reverse that. In the Lord, of course. In the Lord, of course. Don't sit. We're too old now to be playing the victim. Do. It's they sit around and play the victim. And that's to skirt from taking accountability for your actions. And I'm talking, when I say women, I'm talking about liberal women. In the society of which we currently dwell. That's the mentality of women that are fashioned, the mentality of a liberal woman. She can do no wrong. And when wrong is done, it's somebody else's fault. It's never hers. She never can be held accountable for her misdeeds. So therefore that emboldens her and strengthens her to stay in folly. Well, we can no longer as men continue to do that, because when we do that, we're failing our wives, we're failing our children. And it was another thing I mentioned that to you, and I almost forgot about it. This chick. No, so you can't immerse your own self. I mean, you can't do that. I've definitely had a few people over time ask that. You definitely got to have somebody for you. There was this woman. Hold on, let me find that young man. Because this is what I want to share with y'all, and I almost forgot. But this woman shared something, and it was interesting to me. She said, I changed my tire this morning. 4 men walked past me. I'm not saying they were obligated to come assist me, but she put in all caps, which means she felt entitled that they should do so. What I'm saying is a lot of men walk around with a kingly mindset and can't fulfill the duties of a king. Women have lost respect for some of y'all because of the respect y'all have lost for us. Every male isn't a man, just like every girl isn't a lady. Now, if this close doesn't apply, let it fly. Sending the hugs to all the real men. See, I'm going to tell you this bald-headed hoe got the game twisted. See, the bald-headed hoe got, and I call her a bald-headed hoe because she's talking like a bald-headed hoe. She got the game twisted when she said a lot of men walk around with a kingly mindset. She said, but every man, but it can't fulfill the duties of a king. This is a woman, when I say bald-headed hoe, I mean a woman who lacks any type of understanding, nuance, wisdom, anything of the sort. Because if you're saying walking around with a kingly mindset and not doing the duties of a king is only obligated to serve, protect, and to do things for those who are under his rulership, who are under his kingdom. So therefore, it's not, if a man walks past you and doesn't help you change your tire, you're not a part of his kingdom. So therefore, he's not obligated to extend the duties of a king to you. See, you could have had a king to extend your duties. That means you would have had to have a man. So clearly you don't have a man. So therefore, you don't have a king to extend that to you. Why is that important? Because Yahuwah is not obligated to do anything for anyone who is not under his rulership or part of his kingdom or under his dominion. Yahuwah is not going to extend the bit because Yahuwah is the king of the whole earth. Let that be known. And he does not extend his benefits to anyone who is not a part of his kingdom. So is Yahuwah not doing his kingly duties? If you're in distress and he don't come help you because you haven't submitted yourself to his rule, I think not. See, a lot of women have that mindset. You're a king. You're supposed to help me. Kings help those that are under their authority. If you're not under his authority, then he's not obligated to do that. That's why he say walk around. So if that man did have a kingly mindset, he did right. You ain't a part of my kingdom. What am I helping you for? Because that means you would have to submit to my rule and my direction and my correction and you would be receiving my provision. Why is that important? Because I tell you, when you're dealing with liberal women want you to look at every woman like your mother, your sister, your auntie, your grandma, and extend the benefits of your provision, protection, and labor unto them as if they're akin to these women. And they're obligated to do for that are not under your king, your rulership, is a woman who's of the household of the faith, who has no husband, or husband is not readily available to assist her. Because at the end of the day, if you got a man and you don't go to your man, what you got him for? That's the same difference is if you got a woman and it's something that you want done, the first person you should go to is your woman. If you got to go to another woman, what you got her for? She don't serve no purpose. You got to go to another woman. My first inclination is to go to my woman off the top. I'm not going to go to another woman. You can cook for me? For what? You can do this for me? For what? If I got something, I want to hear a female perspective, what am I going to go to another woman before I go to my woman for? That at that point, she don't serve no purpose. What I got her for? That's the mindset everybody's supposed to have. I go see, I'm going to have my wife first. I'm going to have my old lady first. Let me talk to my husband about this first. Let me talk to my man about this first. Let me go to him first. Same way we like to say, we're supposed to go to Yahuwah first. Nevertheless, Yahuwah willing, I expound on it. That's just how I seen it. That's what I peeped from that. Of course, I go away somewhere else with it. But I thank Yahuwah for that. I appreciate all y'all again. I bless y'all in the house of Yahuwah again. Give thanks to Yahuwah in the name of Yahushua for y'all. Stay firm in the faith. Keep your feet firmly rooted and grounded. And let no man take your crown. And Yahuwah willing until the next time.